Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back to another installment of Black Books Matter. Today we are joined by a very, very special guest. We've got a doctor in the house, y'all, so we're going to learn some stuff now about how to improve our health. This inspiring book was written by none other than Dr. Carmen Echols, who is with
Hey
us.
y'all.
And she's going to give us some insight about this thing we've been hearing about diabetes, right? You know, the thing that every other uncle has, or your cousin has, or somebody else has in your family. You know, it's quite an epidemic these days. And she's going to give us some insight on how you can prevent yourself from getting it, why it's such an epidemic. And there's just so many questions I want to ask her. So we're going to dive right into it. Good evening, Carmen. How are you
Good
today?
evening. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to be actually speaking to you about this subject because so many people in my family, so many people, maybe even in your own family, and just many other black families just are suffering from this diabetes epidemic.
Yes.
You know, and you've written this powerful book. Now, check the title, y'all. What your doctor wants you to know, but can't tell you in 15 minutes. Powerful title, actually.
Yes.
So, give us. We'll start right there with the title. How did you come up with the title of the book?
So it's intentional, as you know. A lot of my patients complain because of the appointment windows being so short. We're given 15 minutes to take care of, especially our chronic medical conditions. By the time the medical assistant checks your blood pressure, your temperature, figures out why you're there to see the doctor, it's 7.5 minutes. The doctor has 7.5 minutes technically with you in the office. So I'm like, I can't tell my patients everything they need to know about diabetes in 15 minutes. First of all, I spend more than 15 minutes with my patients. Notice I said I spend more than 15 minutes with my patients. So their clinic visits are running about 20, 22 minutes. I run behind in clinic because I believe in having empowered, educated patients. My patients ask about diabetes. They want to know side effects. They want to know how this medicine is going to respond in my body. What can I do to prevent it? There's only so much I can do within my 15 minutes. I'm like, you know what? Here's a book.
Right.
So this book is written based on questions they've asked me over the years that I've been a practice.
So, how many years have you been in practice?
So technically, I've been a physician for 15 years. I've been an attending physician, which is a practicing physician, for 12.
Wow. And in that amount of time, in those 12, well, it's more than that, but in the span of your career, what can you narrow it down maybe for the audience, just in the time that we have? What are the leading causes of diabetes?
So the leading causes of diabetes is being sedentary. Of course, we're in a sedentary society now. We're not. I sometimes joke with my patients. We're not out there doing farm and table. We're not out there plowing the mule. We're not active. So lifestyle has changed, but sometimes our diets have not kept up with that lifestyle. The diets have not adjusted. We're eating high carb food. We need a high carb food if we're going to go out and work all day. That those carbs give us energy. We don't need so many carbs now if we're going to be sitting in front of our computers and our tablets doing more sedentary work. Additionally, food needs to be preserved. Here's this whole fast food, rush, hurry up, you gotta move culture. Who knows how the preservatives are responding in our bodies as well. The other thing, and I did a Instagram video about this, sugar in everything. Everything, even some of the seasoning blends. You'd be shocked. You read the label, you see sugar is like the second or third ingredient. Why? For what?
Yeah. Wow. So is it safe to say that sugar is a leading cause? Just the amount of sugar you can take is a leading cause of it?
Sugar can cause it, but really it's inflammation, the body being inflamed. And in terms of what causes diabetes, is so much more than that. It's actually a hormonal issue too. If you're stressed, your cortisol levels go up, making you more resistant. Then, of course, if you're stressed, there's stress eating. We go to those high carb foods, those high sugar foods. Why? They make us feel good. They make us happy, but they're not good for us.
Right. Interesting. You know, I never heard. I've always heard it's all diet. You know, and but you're kind of dispelling that myth now. Another myth I've always heard, and I'm going to call it a myth. I'm going to ask the doctor first. Is diabetes hereditary?
It can be. It
Okay.
can be. It can be hereditary if you have one family member or one parent who has diabetes. Your risk of getting diabetes is 20%. Two parents, your risk goes up to 80%. I will also say eating habits are hereditary. If you're eating food that's cooked by somebody who is an excellent chef, their food tastes good, it's not necessarily the healthiest, well, that's all you know. So that's what you're going to eat, and you're going to pass that on to your other family members as well.
You know, that's interesting that you say that, and I asked you that question purposefully because we do pass down a lot of our habits. You know, it's just a natural thing. You know, just speaking for my own family, my daughter, she loves to eat fried chicken. I didn't know this, but her babysitter was pumping her up with fried chicken for a long time, and I didn't know that. Now it's like pulling teeth to get her to stop eating so much fried food. So that's a very important point. I think a lot of people miss. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that out. Yeah. So as far as prevention, you mentioned a few things already. I heard a saying. I used to work for public health years ago. They say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
And that is true.
Yeah, and I've held true to that as long since I heard that. So what are some preventive measures other than the obvious things that people can do to make sure that they don't get to the point where they are diagnosed with diabetes?
First of all, being intentional about activity. No, you don't have to necessarily go out and go to the gym and do these crazy, crazy hard workouts. Walk around the neighborhood if it is safe for you. That's another thing, especially in the African American community. Social determinants of health actually determine how healthy or unhealthy we are. If your neighborhood is safe for you to walk in, chances are you're not going to walk around the neighborhood. If you need to stay in your home, and if your mobility is limited, chair aerobics is an option. There are videos on YouTube. Be careful with those as well. Don't hurt yourself. You can't copy everything, but you can always take it slow, do some basic videos. If you can afford to, there are also personal trainers in our community that are excellent. Do a session with them and see what they can advise you to do at home. So that would be the first thing, mobility. And shameless plug for Outdoor Afro. I am currently a co-leader of the Atlanta Network of Outdoor Afro. We introduce Black people to the outdoors, hikes, kayak, and everything else. And I'm a believer in getting outside for your physical, spiritual, and mental health. Being outdoors for at least 120 minutes a week is shown to benefit all three. So if you incorporate outdoor activity, that will also help prevent diabetes as well. The other thing is, of course, diet. Monitoring your carb intake. Oh, so you need juices and sodas, and not just that, your white potatoes, your white rice, your white pastas, opt for brown. Some of my patients say, Dr. Evans, I cannot stand brown rice. I said, you have to cook it separately. Cook a little pot of white rice, cook a little pot of brown rice, and mix it until you get used to eating brown rice. How do I know? My mother was diagnosed with diabetes when I was in high school, and she was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism as well. A lot of the cooking was on me because she was tired due to her thyroid. I didn't really eat brown rice until then. Now all I eat is brown rice, unless I'm going to a restaurant.
I'm a big brown rice eater too. And actually, y'all, I may not have known this, but if you go to a Chinese restaurant, you can request brown rice now. In most Chinese restaurants, you sure can. So I'm used to brown rice just because I pay attention to my health. Another question that kind of just popped up when you mentioned hyperthyroidism. So diabetes, is it a precursor to other ailments that can occur, or is it related to other ailments? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So it's not necessarily related to thyroid. My mother just happened to have both at the same time. But of course, if diabetes is not well managed, it can lead to some physical tragedies, to be honest with you. Amputations, blindness, heart disease, vascular problems with your blood vessels, neuropathy problems with your nerves as well.
Wow, interesting. Is diabetes reversible through natural means? Have you seen that case to be true?
I have. And the thing is, it has to be started early, to be honest with you, and the patients are very aggressive. That's the best way to describe it. They are aggressive, they are motivated, they are determined to not succumb to the negative impact that diabetes can have, and they're able to, and it's semantics, and I mentioned this in the book too, reverse versus remission. is diabetes curable versus is it in remission? Because if you stop those healthy lifestyle habits, it can come back.
Gotcha. Very interesting. I hear a term a lot, and pre-diabetes. What does that mean exactly?
So back in the day, it used to be a touch of sugar or borderline
A
diabetes.
touch of sugar. Gotcha.
And I always say the difference between pre-diabetes and diabetes is just a number. It starts off the same way, but once your blood sugar gets to a certain point, it's considered diabetes and not pre.
Interesting. Another thing I hear is type 1 and type 2. What is the difference between, is it more severe, or and how does that work?
So type 1 diabetes, you are born with either the inability or the very limited ability for the body to make insulin, which means you require insulin for life, period. It's not, oh, well, I can manage this by diet. You require insulin to live, to survive. Whereas type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes is a segue for that. So it's an insulin resistance, it's a slower course, and it is, we used to call it adult onset, but now that, of course, with diet and sedentary lifestyle, we're seeing it more in the younger population.
Wow, that was actually my next question is, and I guess you kind of already answered it. People are getting that younger and younger.
They are,
Yeah.
because of sedentary lifestyle and the food choices and the food availability. Again, social determinants of health, again, that's impacted a lot of this too. It's not conducive to health.
Wow. I'm learning so much, and I've researched diabetes before, and I haven't learned as much as I've learned just talking to you. So, folks, you can only imagine what you're going to learn when you pick up this copy of this book at Elder Bookstore in the new Black Wall Street Market. Hint, hint. So, if y'all haven't come down here, make sure you make your way down here. Pick up a copy of Diabetes, What Your Doctor Wants You to Know, but can't tell you in 15 minutes. Also, I just want, can you tell people where else they can find the book besides here at the Elder Bookstore?
Absolutely, you can find it on Amazon.
Oh, awesome. So there you have it, folks. If you have any questions about diabetes at all, pick up a copy of this book, and I'm pretty sure it'll be answered in the book. And if you have family history with it, it just you owe it to yourself to grab it so you can even help educate other members of your family, because your health is your wealth, and it's important for us as people of color. And that's another question, actually, I wanted to ask you too. Are we more predisposed to it than other races of people? Is that a fact, or is that sort of a myth as well?
Predisposed. So between lifestyle, between, in some cases, unfortunate life circumstances, where you live, the walkability of the neighborhood, food access, all of that plays a role as well.
Wow. Food deserts. I see a lot of food deserts in our communities where we can't get fresh vegetables, fresh produce, and good food. Like we have to go to McDonald's or Popeyes or all these other types of restaurants. So,
and also too, people do have to work, and some people say, "Oh, work is an excuse," for those families or that single parent, sometimes even two parents, have to work those two jobs. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to coordinate cooking because they have to live, so that can be a challenge too.
Wow, man, there's so much more I want to ask you, but unfortunately we got to end it here. But pick up a copy of the book, folks. Make your way down to the new Black Wall Street Market. Visit Elder Bookstore, and Elder stands for Early Literacy Development Agency. So it's a great place for you to come hang out, bring your children. There's so many books here for young readers as well as adult readers. You can hang out, grab a seat, read a book, and visit with our lovely owner. Her name is Cynthia Chambry. She's here pretty much every day that we're open. So come visit, come down. We have been talking with Dr. Carmen Echols about her powerful and educational book, Diabetes, What Your Doctor Wants You to Know But Can't Tell You in 15 Minutes. This has been Black Books Matter. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for coming and continuing to support the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you, and God bless.